Hello and welcome everyone to episode 122 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, and war is coming.
No, war is here.
Yeah, war is here.
It is arrived, and oh boy, it's going to be interesting because some behind the scenes on this one. Brandon and I don't usually say a whole lot to each other before these actual recordings because
Yeah, just like a little bit here and there.
Yeah, just little comments. It's like, oh, this is a good one, that sort of thing. I think we had like a 30 or 40 minute conversation just back and forth about the set and the implications and stuff.
Well, it's funny because when I read the chapters initially, I was like, we might be sub 50 this week. Like, you know, once the action starts, it's just goes. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, there's actually, there's a lot to dig in here. There's some fantastic like action as storytelling, which I'm always a really, really big fan of.
Oh, yeah. And
like, Luffy's barely in it.
No, this is the least we've seen Luffy in a while because
it's so good.
There is stuff to talk about, that's for sure. It feels like it's unstated stuff. That's the meat.
Yeah, that's the really juicy stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Speaking of juicy, let's get to chapter 551, Whitebeard of the Four Emperors, and Usopp here, looking a little juicy.
Yeah, he's thick. Yeah,
Usopp has gotten thick. He has become Luffy, although I don't think his weight loss is as good as Luffy's.
Yeah, if this were Luffy, his body would process it, you know, in the span of a panel. Like, all right, good. I digested it, but no, it seems like, you know, good on him. You know, I can't help but laugh at like the various circumstances of the Straw Hats. And again, I'm just pointing to like Robin, you know, just like flung into slavery, and here's Usopp just eating so much that he's like 500 pounds.
It is going to be wild whenever these guys get back together. That's for sure.
Yeah. What is happening?
Hard to say. But in the chapter itself, the world reacts to the news that Fire Fist Ace is actually Gold Roger's son. And of course, I felt that when the news person was like, notify the head office. This is big news. We'll print an extra edition immediately. Like, this is gold. And it freaks everyone out, but the fact that the bloodline of the Pirate King still exists, which, boy, that just adds some weight to it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I feel like when we're talking about unsaid things, the concept of like blood and bloodline in this world is so... And I feel like that's kind of the missing piece, right? Like, they... fear, fear, that's the word I'll use. Like they want to eradicate anything associated with Gold Roger to the point that they want to stamp out anything associated with that man.
And we definitely get into that with this set.
Yeah, and so it's like that. I feel like now that we understand why they're going all of this length to like, yeah, the world government knows, like, if we execute Ace publicly, like, Whitebeard's gonna come for us. As you know, by the chapter title, you can see, you know, there will be consequences to this.
For sure.
I wanted to make note of the implication that like the fact that the bloodline still exists, I feel like is to this setting, I think is really important, and to the characters of the setting to believe that the Pirate King's blood is still out there. I feel like contrasts very strongly where you have, you know, other characters reacting like Hancock, you know, it's like, you know, they're not brothers by blood, you know, and Kobe and Helmeppo thought Dragon was his father too.
It's one of those things that I actually wanted to draw attention to because it's very pointedly because it has this like strong, you can almost imagine the cinematic zoom into the platform and all the Navy men looking up at that. And Oda specifically draws 3 characters, one being Hancock, who actually reacts to it by saying, oh, Luffy and Ace aren't related by blood. But then we have Smoker. And I know why Smoker's there, because Smoker witnessed the execution of Gold Roger. So that definitely has some meaning to him. But then there's also Mihawk. Why is Mihawk there?
Yeah, that is...
I feel like that's nothing is done without purpose a lot of times with the One Piece. So what is the connection? Is there a connection between Mihawk and Roger. We know he's friends with Shanks, who, was part of Roger's crew. But what does that mean? Like,
Yeah.
is there more to this? Is I guess what I'm saying.
Mihawk was there in the live action, wasn't he? Or am I misremembering?
I think he was there. There's a lot of characters there in the live action. They just
yeah.
So I don't put that much value in that. I think it's just sort of it's a nice detail of like it is inspiring this next generation. It's a bit more pointed with who Oda chose to be where.
Yeah, I can say with certainty. Well, a lot about Mihawk is very much still a mystery, but you get the feeling he knows more than he lets on.
Yeah. There's something there. I have no idea.
And I feel like it's just, especially with the association with Shanks. I feel like there's a lot there that we still don't really understand, but you can tell that character probably has some level of history, and I feel like a lot of the warlords might on some level.
I think so. I mean, Moria is certainly excited. Doflamingo's like, he's plotting already.
Yeah, well, definitely the line where Moria says that everybody associated with Roger was executed. We know that is factually untrue.
Yeah, they did it as much as they can, but we certainly have Shanks out there. We have Rayleigh out there. They're definitely missing a lot of people.
Yeah, we got Buggy. I think even, forgive me, I think we said we learned this during Sabaody, with Crocus too, right?
Yes, I believe Crocus was there as well.
Yeah. So we've seen any number of people associated with Roger. So they tried.
I think Roger made sure to disassociate as many people as possible from his crew, other than the truly famous ones. They probably hunted down a lot of his other crew, but obviously a lot of people still survive this, and this is the first time we've really seen Roger in a long time, just this flashback from Garp.
Yeah, I loved this interaction. It says so much about Gold Roger's character.
Oh, yeah, it does. Because he's smiling the entire time. He's in change. He's behind bars. He's like, I'm going to be a father. We've fought so many times. Why? That's why I'm telling you this, because you will actually save them. You'll do it. You'll take care of it. He trusts Garp.
Yeah, the way that he says, "I know you, you'll do it," like that is such a Luffy line. The way that just like that look of just like, "I know you'll do it," like you're gonna do it.
But man, that smile is so infectious.
It really is. And the way that not Garp, the way that Roger says that, like, he trusts Garp as much as any of his own shipmates, even though they're on opposite sides, that says a whole lot to me too.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about Garp, because look at, we flip the page and all of a sudden, here's what it was like for the Marines hunting down Roger's bloodline. They're like, it's been reported that Roger fathered a child in this village. Check all the children up to 10 months after his capture. Inspect the pregnant women too. Kill anybody who looks suspicious. They are going on a tear, and it is... It's amazing so many people associated with Roger survived, because they are out they are out for literal blood.
Yeah, it's one of those things I feel like doesn't actually get brought up a whole lot in the series. I don't know if it really gets brought up again after this, but like, yeah, the idea that they went to such lengths to eradicate any sort of association with Roger, like, and yet that they failed clearly so dramatically, I think is fascinating.
I think it just says the strength of his crew and how much people want to hang on. I mean, look at his wife, I guess, the mother of his child, keeping Ace in for so long before he's born. He's definitely not super huge, so she definitely used something else to just sort of, I guess, stunt his development for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's just one of those, like, you know what? All right, sure.
Is Dadan the mayor of Luffy's town?
Dadan is a character we have not seen yet.
Okay. I didn't know the name of that mayor who was always like, pirates.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know his name either. But yeah, this is our first mentioning of a character named Dadan, who was going to raise Garp's children.
Yeah. That's really grandchildren at this point. So we get to see the first meeting between Ace and Luffy, and it's interesting to see how young Luffy was when he met Shanks, because he feels young here, but he definitely was even younger, and he certainly looks different. He kind of looks like his chibi form after using Gear 3. Actually,
that's a good question, because Luffy, I don't know if this is like an art mistake, or if I'm not. No, I guess Luffy has the scar that he stabbed himself with when he was trying to act cool to Shanks. So this is after he met Shanks.
Yes, and he has the straw hat, of course.
Yeah, oh, yeah, duh.
I mean, he'd have the scar if it was after. If he only had the scar, it'd be after the first time he met Shanks. This proves it's after the second time and he got the promise.
Yeah. So yeah, he's very Toast Gear 3, very, very tiny baby. And then I also love we noticed this conversation with Garp and Ace kind of back before Impel Down, where he says we both got world-class criminal blood flowing through our veins. And I love that misdirection so much because it really does make you think that he hates Dragon, but now it all makes sense that he hates Roger.
Yeah.
Which I think adds such a fascinating tear into it. And that Whitebeard, he claims Whitebeard as his only father.
Mm-hmm. And we even get some history of Ace about what he's like. Like, it's like you kind of forget about this, but Ace did all this in 2 years. He's actually the captain of he didn't immediately go to Whitebeard. He was actually captain of a crew called the Spade Pirates. And that's when they discovered his actual origins. According to Sengoku, Whitebeard took him in so that he could raise him to be the next pirate king. And Ace immediately refuses, like, no, I want to help him become the king of the pirates. It's like, no, you're the only one that believes that. Don't you know why we were never able to touch you? It's because Whitebeard protected you, but you had to be stopped. And that's why we're not going to let you lead a new generation of pirates on a reign of terror. Your execution has to happen, even if it means all-out war. And that's why this is all happening, because they don't want Ace to lead in a new age of piracy.
I'm really curious. I kind of don't think either statement here is true from Sengoku or Ace, or I guess mostly Sengoku. I'm unsure. I guess is
I'll be honest.
How I'll put it.
It made immediate sense to me because Whitebeard being the king of the pirates. I mean, if he's almost equal to Roger, he should have been able to take that mantle relatively quickly, you'd think.
Yeah, if he wanted to do it, he would have. This certainly makes sense.
But I think maybe the luster of that rivalry with Roger being gone, and instead he sees this potential in Ace. So it completely makes sense to me, like, because there's very much a theme of the old guard passing on to the new generation. One Piece.
That's true.
So yeah. I completely believe Sengoku when he says this. Mm-hmm. For some reason, and we don't have an answer for this, I have no idea on this one, the gates of justice just opened on their own.
Yep, which I believe this is the only time we see Luffy in this entire set.
There's maybe one other time. I think so. But but also a great bit where Buggy just happens to be raising his arms with a staff in hand, and they're like, Captain Buggy, did you do this? Are you a messenger of God? And Mr. 3 Sec,
they all start bowing. That's Buggy in a nutshell, where he looks like he is claiming responsibility, and then he's just like, no, seriously, who opened it? Yeah, and that's we don't know how this happened, and I'm curious to find out.
Yeah, I not a clue. But just like that, the pirate fleet has arrived, and all these fantastic ships, so many cool, interesting ones, and none of them are Whitebeard though. It's Bohemian Knight Doma, Thunderlord McGuy, the Calvin Brothers, Royal Spider Squad, all captains of the New World. 43 ships in all, but not Whitebeard and his division leaders. They're just pirates aligned with Whitebeard, which is very interesting.
I wanted to point that out just real quick because that is sort of a little hint, I guess a little tease about how pirates work in the New World, where like Whitebeard is huge, and obviously we've learned of Whitebeard has like territory, and I think the implication you could probably extrapolate from that the other emperors also probably have their own territory, and you have pirates aligning themselves kind of like as protection. Right. Yeah,
you definitely get that sense. It's like they might not be part of the exact crew, but they work under them, and it's like, oh hell, exactly. Luffy's been kind of doing that. Just all these friends he's been making along the way. Oh hell,
yeah.
makes that very interesting, at least in terms of the potential future. I have obviously no idea on that one, but
it really this goes to show just how big I feel like this is what an emperor's fleet looks like.
Yes.
And this is not even the proper Whitebeard himself.
This is why they're claiming all-out war, because it's not just Whitebeard and his generals, it's everybody that's aligned with Whitebeard. And that's,
Yep.
that's saying something. Basically, everybody's like, okay, where is Whitebeard? Where's he coming from? And all of a sudden they start hearing these bubbles like, and Garb's just like, oh, he's going to pull something outrageous. And all of a sudden shadows appear from like the middle of the crescent, I don't know.
Crescent moon shape.
Yeah, where the water leads into the docks. And they sealed their ships and went underwater in order to rise up. So this is our demonstration of how it works for going to Fishman Island.
Yeah, I thought this was so cool.
Yeah, here comes the Moby Dick rising from the water along with three other ships.
That's a great name for a ship. And two, you can kind of see it's got kind of like this bubble texture to it.
Yeah, it's nice little bit of just environmental storytelling.
Yeah, because we've heard of ship coding before. That's how we need to get to Fishman Island. But now, like, actually seeing it in action is like, oh wow, that, and that, like, Whitebeard just comes in from underwater, like basically at the front line.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
He just steps up, has his halberd, and showing that strength. He's not hooked up to any machines at all. It's like, hey, Son Goku, my beloved son had better be all right. Just
what a boss entrance.
He looks
This is so
awesome.
good. Yeah, now that, Whitebeard is up and ready for action, like, oh boy. The fact that he actually showed up too, I feel like we've had such a long build up for this of seeing the world government like freak out over the past like 50 chapters or so. Just like, oh god, he's coming. He's here.
He's here. Now to see why they were freaking out all this time. Well, let's get to it. Chapter 552, Ace and Whitebeard. And now it's time to check in on Chopper. I'm not food, you jerks, and raccoons do escape. Usopp got to enjoy food. Chopper has to avoid becoming food.
I was about to say the same thing, yeah.
The wild, wide adventures of our crew.
Yeah.
But I think here's our only second appearance of Luffy, where he finally tells Iva that, like, oh no, we don't have the same dads. He's the son of Gold Roger, which I think is also very interesting that Luffy just knew.
Yeah, he knew, and he just like it's like, oh, that's supposed to be a secret.
Yeah, Ace gets mad whenever I say that Roger is awesome. So
It's very funny too when you think about it, because like all we really know from Luffy's perspective, like obviously he wants to be the next king of the pirates. So you kind of, I wonder, like if he kind of, I don't know if idolize is the right word, but like,
certainly
he
respects.
He respects, like he saw what Gold Roger accomplished and he wants to do that too. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like it's very interesting that his own brother is just like, no, I hate that guy.
I mean, we saw the reverence in which he visited the execution platform.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, yeah. And time for a demonstration of freaking Whitebeard's powers.
I love that we don't get an explanation of this quite right away. It's in this chapter, but like you just see it first off and you're like, oh my God.
I'm like, good God, what did he do? Because he just pounds the air, causes cracks in the literal air, and all of a sudden you see this ripple and explosion going through just all of it. Everything, like even the land just seems like it's rubber.
I feel like we are starting to get into the scale of what some of these abilities can do. We go into a flashback, so we don't quite get the explanation yet. But I love seeing Whitebeard just walk up, like flex his arms, and it literally breaks the fourth wall.
You see this is like, oh yeah, that makes sense that he was the rival to Roger, to the Pirate King.
Exactly.
If this is what he's doing, because oh good God. But yeah, we lead into a flashback where we see Ace heading off ahead of Luffy. I'll head out to sea 3 years from now, and you'll be a lot stronger the next time you see me. This is from Luffy. So we see the difference between them. And Garp is reacting. He's like, oh, dang it, he became a pirate. Yeah. And it's like Goku getting reports like, D, where's he from? Newcomer. But he already acquired a Logia power.
Yeah, so he got his fire powers very fast.
Yeah, he did.
And well, it looks like if you see the... It's got like the flame on it on this like Spade Pirates Jolly Roger. So I wonder if you just found it like immediately.
I guess so, or somehow. It's hard to say. But it's interesting how Whitebeard immediately took notice, because he like, wow, Ace got offered to be one of the 7 warlords.
Just an immediate upstart.
He's like, what's the big hurry, youngster?
Yeah. And then I love this, that like he immediately like he tracks down Shanks and is basically just like, I wanted to thank you in person because like my little brother just talks about you all the time.
Yeah. I mean, that sort of indicates like, oh crap, he made it to the new world that quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And assuming, I guess it's hard to tell what the timeline of this is. We see him stand off against Jinbei. I think I can assume that this might be Fishman Island. We know where he says like, it's basically like, this is, you know, Whitebeard's territory, but like, you gotta, if you want to beat Whitebeard, you gotta go through me.
Yeah. They end up fighting for 5 days.
Yeah. So we've seen what Jinbei can do. God, and it's seeing them interact, that like basically as equals. And then you see
Whitebeard show up after these 5 days of fighting, and
yeah, it's just like, all right, I'll take you on. You know, you want my head?
Yeah, and he immediately puts a giant flame fence between him and his crew. He's like, "Get out of here, run!" And Whitebeard thinks he's going to chicken out. I was like, "No, let my men go. In exchange, I'll stay here until the end." And he tries to fight Whitebeard. Does not go well.
Yeah, no, but and I love that like Whitebeard immediately kind of understands and like respects his strength, and you know, it would be a waste to kill you. If you want to terrorize these seas, do it in my name, and then become my son. I love this because it's not, we kind of learn here that it's not one-sided, right? Like Ace, we've seen Ace refer to Whitebeard as my only dad, but no, Whitebeard is also like, no, you are my son now.
Yeah, it's also interesting because Ace is so devoted to Whitebeard. And we have this whole sequence of him trying to kill Whitebeard constantly. But before even that, we get to meet Thatch, leader of the 4th Division, and the one that Blackbeard killed for the Devil Fruit.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That is... Wow, that is Thatch. Rip.
Yeah, there's Thatch, the scar on his face, kind of hanging out like a dandy man type thing. But he's the one that is the first one to greet Luffy.
Ace.
And lets him know that your men came back for you, so we clobbered him, but don't worry, they're alive and all aboard the ship.
I love that, you know, he like Ace immediately gets kind of like accepted into this crew, and the first thing he does is try to assassinate Whitebeard in his sleep.
He's just like, "What are you doing? Keep it down." People are trying to sleep, and just knocks him out of the room and goes back to sleep.
And then he goes back to sleep.
Comes at him with axes and all this other stuff. Gets tossed in the water. They keep rescuing him. It's like, every single day, doesn't he quit? Was that the 100th time? I think so.
And I love that, like, they feed him. Like, all right, you tried to kill our captain, you know, here's some food.
So why does everyone call him Pops? Because he considers us his sons. We're just a bunch of strays, so it makes us feel good, whether he really means it or not. But if you keep going like this, you're not going to last. You won't be able to kill Pops in your conditions, so either get off the ship and try again later, or stay and take the mark of Whitebeard on your back.
I feel like, again, talking about like family and bloodlines, like we're seeing kind of the crew dynamic on Whitebeard's ship, and it's like, no, they consider themselves a family.
Absolutely.
Like, just straight up. Yeah. And I find the nature of that really fascinating.
And we even see how pirate crews become allied with Whitebeard, because we get the text box here is Ace did it again. He made the Doma gang surrender. Like, he's the one that got that alliance, because Doma was one of the ones that was coming to rescue Ace.
Yeah. And then, you know, that he works his way up. He's basically like working his way up, you know, up to becoming leader of Division 2. And I love that, you know, we see him kind of like talking to Blackbeard here, or I guess Teach at this point, you know, where he's like, well, you know, he's got the seniority, so, but
I don't have those kinds of ambitions, right?
Liar.
Yeah.
Liar.
It's interesting, but eventually I think Ace feels so guilty that he has to tell Whitebeard that he's the son of Roger.
Yeah, I love this interaction too, because Whitebeard does not care.
Yeah, exactly. We're all children of the sea.
Yeah, he's like, you don't act much like Roger. It's like, wasn't he your enemy? Are you gonna tell me to get lost? And he's like, I thought you had something important to discuss. Like, it's fast, right? You know, but like we're getting so much characterization here, and I love seeing this interaction between Ace and Whitebeard, how he treats his crew, how he is as a person. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is all crucial, right? Before all hell breaks loose.
It's immensely important, because it really gives context to why this crew is so devoted to getting Ace back. And, yes, you know, why Ace is so devoted to Whitebeard. And he insists on going after Teach after he killed Thatch. It's like, I need to avenge him. And This was very interesting to me. Whitebeard told him to let it go. I have a bad feeling. Like, Whitebeard said no to Shanks about calling him back. And I think we realize now it's because nothing he said could stop him.
Yeah, I think Whitebeard realizes that. And we see that here, like, as the flashback ends, Ace is here kind of apologizing, like, I ignored your warnings and went off on my own. Like, just abandon me. Why can't you let me abandon me to my fate? I brought this on myself. And then here's Whitebeard, like, instead of telling a bull-faced lie, I sent you on that mission, my son.
Yeah.
Like, huh? What?
Real quick, though, how old is Blackbeard? Because Ace says he's been serving Whitebeard for decades.
That is a good question. I think we will learn in an SBS at some point. I do not know right now off the top of my head.
I'm quite curious about that because I just figured he was in his 20s, maybe 30s.
Yeah, no, he seems a little older, but again, also I don't, I'll hold that off. I think there are ages that will be revealed at some point.
Okay. But yeah, it's just one of those wonderful interactions. It's like, no, I ordered him to go, right, Marco? Yeah, I heard you. Sorry, we've had such a rough time. But everybody's water should know better than mess with one of our crew. Anyway, anyone who lays hand on one of us has to suffer the consequences. So we're coming to save you. I feel
like I love this because it's kind of a point of pride almost too, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So like that they're kind of putting on a front. Like no, okay, like we're taking responsibility for this because you're one of us.
And it's at that point that a rumble starts to happen, and that's when Garp is like, oh, here it comes. The sea quake he started earlier is about to turn into a tsunami. And that's where we find out that he ate the quake fruit. The tremor fruit and became a quake man. Excuse me.
Yeah. So this man can punch the air to cause earthquakes.
That is tsunamis.
And tsunamis, yeah.
He has, as Sengoku says, the fact that we outnumber them doesn't guarantee a victory. They could still wipe us out because that man has the power to destroy the world.
Then that shot of like the tsunami waves kind of like coming in to just completely crash over Marineford is incredible.
Holy crap. 47 pirate ships from the New World facing off against the Navy headquarters and the warlords of the sea. No matter who emerges victorious, an era will end and a new one will begin. Holy crap.
This is big.
Yeah. It's pretty big.
I love this reveal, by the way. Like just the sort of bookending the chapter with showing off Whitebeard's double fruit to sort of seeing like, oh no, this is like what it actually does.
And the wonderful thing about all this is it's something we've talked about before about how like, oh yeah, these guys are strong, but then you get a sense of how strong they are. The power scaling in One Piece is damn near perfect.
Well, yeah.
Well, okay, maybe not perfect, but
no, I agree. But I think there are some people who would disagree. But I think it is very natural.
Yeah, like, I guess that's a better way to put it. It's much more natural, where it's just you hear this guy's strong, and it's all of a sudden not a new, stronger person. It just recontextualizes strength.
I think the context of which we first learn of a lot of these characters' abilities, and then seeing them kind of like what we're about to witness is basically like Oda throwing a bunch of toys in a toy box. It's just like, all right, go.
It's basically, oh, you thought Luffy was strong. No.
Yeah, no. I really, for all of the characters we've like encountered thus far, I feel like it does retroactively put into context a lot of their encounters with Luffy, which I find to be really fascinating.
For sure. Well, let's do it. Chapter 553, Paramount War. And we get another 2-page spread, and I don't know about you, but I want some ice cream.
Yeah, I was definitely looking at the ice cream. Yeah.
Certainly. That's the only thing to pay attention here, right? I mean, I envy Chopper. He's buried in it.
Oh yeah. Wait, where is he?
He's in the tall stack that Sanji's holding.
Oh my god!
No. I miss the crew.
I do, man. It's been almost like 40 chapters,
if not more, at this point.
Yeah.
Well, we got a tidal wave coming in, and Doflamingo is just all about it. He's like, "Yeah, bring it on! This is the legendary beast."
Also, in we see a panel. There's a Django in full body, also freaking out here.
It's like, oh god, we're way over our heads.
Yep, poor guys.
But here comes freaking Akainu. Now Aokiji. God, I'm mixing him up already. Yeah. That's not a good sign. Aokiji coming up using his Ice Age to freeze the tidal waves.
And this is what creates our battlefield.
Yes. And just calls him an upstart, sends up his ice partisan right at Whitebeard, who just quakes the earth and shatters all of them and Aokiji. Of course, he's able to reform, but he by landing near the water, he has to freeze the water. So now we have our battlefield of ice in order for everybody to actually walk.
And again, just we saw Luffy fight Aokiji, and here's Whitebeard just casually going like, "Oh, you little upstart, just punch."
Yeah, Luffy stood no chance, and just a shrug aside for Whitebeard. Good God.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and now that he's made a battlefield of ice, everybody's able to just charge in.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it works out for both sides, where the battleships are frozen in place and they can't escape, but it also provides a battlefield for the pirates to make their advance and really go for it. And oh boy.
one thing I want to point out that is maybe the signature look of this arc is Oda goes hard on 2-page spreads. Like,
oh yeah.
There's just spreads everywhere showing off all of his just like pure draftsmanship. Just if you're reading this, like, take a second to soak in all the detail, because this is like a war.
Yeah, we'd be here all day if we pointed out all the little details that you can see in the background, the size of certain people, the weird little aspects. Like, just one, for example, is on the left here of this one panel when there's like, let's show them what we're made of. There's a guy with a Gatling gun arm, but not only that, he has a freaking caterpillar poodle wrapped around us.
Yeah. Just like, who is that?
Yeah.
Why?
Just all these crazy distinct designs, and who knows if
we'll
learn anymore.
I would imagine 90% of them don't have names.
Pretty much. So, they start firing their cannons, and the first line of defense are the Vice Admirals of the Navy. I believe there are 7 of them?
There are more than that, but there's 7 of them here. There are certainly more than 7 Vice Admirals. But and Momonga's among of them.
Yeah. They got a crazy metal mask dude, a guy can use shadow arms. Like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, again, there's one guy who's just like, he's got like a Dalmatian hat.
He might be a Dalmatian man.
Yeah, he might. Yeah, actually, looking closer, he might be.
Or maybe it's a bull, because I think he has a nose ring.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah,
I can't tell, but either way,
I don't know. These guys are crazy.
and that's the other thing is, like, yeah, they don't care. It's like, every day you get to see so many Vice Admirals. This makes the Buster Call look like a cakewalk. Let's go.
Well, again, we've seen what a Buster Call looks like. We saw Inia's lobby, and they're just like, yeah, whatever.
Suru here, they're trying to protect her, and I still don't know what her role is, but she's like, nowhere. Doesn't matter where I go. It's not safe.
Yeah, I know she's another Vice Admiral. I don't know what her like position is or like relationship is to other characters, but
we haven't really learned. It's more of an advisory role, it seems.
I think so.
But God, just these pirate designs. We got an octopus man. We got a mech man. We got just a walrus man.
Yeah, they're all. Whitebeard has amassed an incredible spread of weirdos.
Mm-hmm. And time for some more recontextualization, as Mihawk is the first of the warlords to do something. He's like, I love
that Doflamingo's like, really? You're really gonna fight?
It's like, no, I just want to measure the true distance between that man and us. And he sends this giant wave cutting through the ice straight at Whitebeard, and nope, nothing. Blocked it completely. Yeah. Oh no,
blocked?
No, Whitebeard did not block it. Stopped by somebody else, the leader of the 3rd Division, Diamond Jozu, who can turn into a Diamond Man.
I think that's his devil fruit, right?
That has to be a devil fruit.
I'm pretty sure it is, but they don't say. So I was like, is it? I don't remember. Yeah, and not only that, after Mihawk tries to attack, we see just freaking Kizaru coming in with his Yasakani Sacred Jewel, firing laser beams basically. And all Whitebeard says is like, hey, now that's a bit too bright. Like, he doesn't really care. Like, he hasn't moved this whole time.
Has not moved once. And here comes Marco, leader of the 1st Division, who's also on fire, which made me confused at first. Like, wait, there's another fireman? How's that work? And
yeah, we'll find out next chapter.
Yeah, we definitely learn next chapter. But yeah, you remember how terrifying Mihawk was when we first met him? Stopped, no issue, by not even the leader of the Whitebeard pirates.
I do want, at the very least, like, Mihawk was not trying.
Oh, no. Mihawk was absolutely not trying. It was just a opening volley type thing.
Yeah. And the fact that this was Mihawk not trying is also just like, oh.
We see the gap for Zoro to reach that point.
Well, which is fair, I feel like, because we saw it when he fought Zoro, he was fighting with a tiny little knife.
And you understand why that's all he needed now.
Yep.
What he was truly capable of. I think with this, we can determine, like, the division leaders are basically equal to admirals, it seems.
Basically, yeah, if they can kind of, they're on that same level. And that they're, I talked to you about this a little bit, but just, like, I love the way that they all kind of rib each other a little casually. Like, like you can tell that they're not afraid of each other. They're like, oh yeah, oh, it's you, is kind of how this whole thing goes.
Yeah, it's it's something else. This, like I said, this is just an era of recontextualizing everything we've seen up to this point, and really getting a sense of how powerful the men at the top are, or the people at the top are. We do have an SBS, and we've got to start with some lowbrow humor. It's like, hey, Mr. One is a cut man, right? Can everything cut? And Oda just doesn't answer.
Yeah, I mean, he's answered this before, so it feels like, you know what? It's like, y'all are just going to keep asking to ask. Yeah, exactly. You know.
And he does think everybody is. I like at this point, it's like, I don't care about this page anymore. I'll make the next one as fun as I can, though. But thank you to all my fans who watched Strong World. Appreciate that.
Wait, is it out?
At this point, well, remember, this is from.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So by the time this chapter was published in Weekly Shonen Jump, it was not out, but by the volume release, it was probably out.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep. Gotcha.
All right, time for chapter 554, Admiral Akainu. Time to properly meet this one, our third and final admiral. And Chopper escapes because the giant bird that he landed in initially comes down and starts terrorizing all these men. So I don't know where that puts Chopper at for his whole story, but he's safe at least.
Yeah, that's it. I feel like this one might have needed more than two. But
yeah,
I get that, like, we're moving through these. Right, yeah. It's just like, here he is. No, yeah. I feel like there's no, like, beginning and end.
Yeah, not at all. It's just sort of like a look, I guess, is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Time to learn what Marco's all about. According to Kizaru, he's eaten a fruit far rarer than the ones that create Logia types. He's a mythical creature Zoan type. He's like, it still hurts. And he's like, liar. Which I like. Nice twist from what happened how the last one ended. His flames keep regenerating no matter how many times he's attacked. Marco the Phoenix.
Leader of the 1st Division. So I feel like he's probably the one who's closest to Whitebeard.
I'd say he's probably second strongest. It'd be my guess.
Yeah, I don't know if they have any kind of, like, if the divisions have any kind of ranking. But also, he's a friggin' Phoenix, right? So, like...
Yeah. I mean, we don't learn anything about, like, a first mate. I think he's probably closest to the first mate. He definitely is the one that appears the most. And
yeah, we saw him with the Shanks meeting.
Yes, we did. I think we saw Jozu as well. Yeah,
we did. Yeah. And funny about that, because it always sticks out in my mind, they have a completely different color scheme in the anime.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just kind of wing it, and then by the time they reappear here, it's like, okay, this is what they're supposed to actually look like. I'll have to send you a comparison later.
Oh, boy.
It's pretty funny.
That's funny. Oh, yeah, it's like, this really hurts, like, liar. It's like, again, the banter you were mentioning before, how that all goes, but Jozu wins that. He sends Kizaru flying. I mean, Kizaru's not hurt, but it's like, all right, giant team, watch out for attacks in the air, and we get to see all the giants on their employ. Also, our first female giant.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, all the ones we've seen. Yeah, and this, I feel like after we saw, like, the giants that were employed by the world government back in Inia's lobby. So I kind of wonder if they, like, are they also being, like, fooled or lied to, or are they here just because they know that, you know, they kind of know what the deal is here. But either way, Jozu just kind of comes in and throws like a giant chunk of ice at him.
My God. bigger than all of them.
Yeah, but by several times. Like it is just massive. We saw Jozu block the attack last chapter, but now just picking up a giant chunk of God.
One last comment about the female giant is it's funny how all the giants so far have been just thick built.
Oh yeah, and she's the only one who's like,
and she is so thin.
yeah.
Just a typical female form from Oda.
Yeah, one of them has like black arms for some reason. I don't know what that's about yet.
Yeah, I have no idea on that one. The one that stops the iceberg is a Kainu. And he also causes a lot of burning. There's a lot of fire people around here with his great eruption, a giant fist made of, well, let's be obvious. It's pretty obvious here. Lava. God. Yeah. He's a lava man.
Yeah. So we have our admirals who have ice, light, and magma.
Yeah, that's a little hard to fight.
Yeah. That's... I can understand why I can understand why Oda left him for last.
For sure. Like, ice seems quaint at this point.
And not only that, like that shot on the next page where you're just seeing like all of these like magma chunks just like flying down from the sky. One of them hits a ship and starts to like sink it. And you see that line, like I said, from one of the journalists who's like, it's like we're watching the end of the world.
Yeah. Understandably so, when you're seeing people that can cause quakes, become a phoenix, cause lava, cause ice, cause water, and cause light.
And again, Whitebeard, he doesn't really care. He catches one of the magma chunks with his spear, and he's just like, that was flashy.
Melts a spear, but hey, stick to lighting candles on birthday cakes, magma boy.
Again, yeah, the banter is so good, and Akainu's just like, don't you want a brightly lit funeral, Whitebeard? Like I love, we're really seeing them like all of these characters as equals here.
I think it's also worth questioning at this point, because I'll be honest, I completely forget the terms of it, but it also makes complete sense to me. Obviously, we saw Whitebeard hooked up. I don't know if he's capable of moving from that spot.
That's a good question.
He's strong, but I don't know how mobile he is.
Yeah, it feels like he's... Right, he did just kind of, he rolled up, he punched the air a couple times, and he's like, all right, I'm good. So we'll see. But he looks fairly intimidating, so I don't know if he's just trying to keep up the bit.
Yeah, I don't know, but we see the other pirates come in, and some guy is able to pull out a giant hammer from a pocket, his literal skin. That's something. And that's when we get the introduction of Little Oars Jr., which...
Right. We had Oars from Thriller Bark. Apparently, he reproduced at some point.
He's the descendant of Oars, the continent puller. Dwarfs the giants next to him is like, Ace is my friend, I won't let him die. So
yeah, I love the concept that Oars had offspring. That's such a specific thing. That's so funny to me. Mm-hmm. And he's also massive. And of course, freaking Moria's just like, I want him. I want his corpse.
I do really enjoy Moria being like, oh, I'm all about this.
Yes, gimme.
Oh, I just saw, thanks to the view from behind here when they're looking up at Oars, why that one Vice Admiral had a bunch of black arms. He's a Spider-Man.
Oh, that would do it.
Yeah, that's okay. That's interesting.
What on earth? Only in One Piece. Yeah. His like the shape of his body just odd.
Mm-hmm. And you can tell that this is taking a lot out of Oda with these massive pages and just all this detail, because typically we get about 19 pages per chapter. We've been getting about 15 to 17.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and that I feel like will become a little more common as time goes on. But I feel like it's hard to complain when you're all of like, this is an incredible achievement. I feel like for a weekly manga, like it is, the amount of actual just raw draftsmanship going on here, I think is ridiculous.
And we've reached our final chapter for the set, 555, Oars and the Hat. And time to check in on Nami. It's her weather report, the business of the legendary Sky Island weather area. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like not a lot to say about this one.
We got
one of the guys. He's pointing at a weather forecast. It looks like, but
maybe they make the weather.
I don't know.
I have no idea on that one. But here come the giants. They're going after little Oars Jr. And I like how they comment, it's like, man, this is the first time I ever had to look up at anyone.
You're right. That's hilarious. And they know that, he's twice the size of the giants, but also that makes him, well, one, it makes him a really big target, but also Oars Jr. here is like, he's grabbing onto one of the ships.
Yeah. He just grabs one of the ships. They're blasting him at the time, and he's tossing it aside. And Ace and the Marines know that he may be big, but he's just flesh and blood. The fire will take a toll eventually. And he's like, no, get out of here. You're too big of a target. Yeah. I can't let you be here because you're just too big. And nope, he wants to save Ace, and he just slams this ship down with all these people on it.
There's a little panel, like you kind of see this whole war from Ace's perspective, and I can understand how it must feel to kind of like watch all of your friends kind of get slaughtered in front of your eyes.
Oh, he has to be feeling immense guilt at this point.
Yeah.
If only I'd listened to Whitebeard, and he was already feeling that because he knew Luffy was trying to rescue him. So Luffy's trying to do this. His family's trying to do this. All of this for him. And oh boy.
All he can do is sit back and watch.
Yeah. It's rough. Oars clears away with that attack, and it's time to get into the bay. And Momonga is like, okay, we got to fall back and defend the line at the bay. We get a tiny map to get an idea of where this all is and how they're all getting into this. And it's like, it's a short area, but it's like there's a lot of stuff between them and Ace.
Yeah, when you think about it, they basically, like, I guess that's kind of what makes this so fascinating is like, this is just like a straightforward push. The Whitebeard pirates just go forward. Like that is all you need to do.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, it's a grander version of Luffy's attempt to rescue Robin in Enies Lobby. Because that was just a straight push. But that was 50 men against 1,000, basically. And now we have way more powerful people against a way bigger force. So it's just stepping up the stakes significantly. Whitebeard just warns Oars, like, hey, courage is one thing, but don't get yourself killed. It's like, no, I can't let them kill Ace. Don't stop me. It's like, all right, support Oars from behind, back him up. And Oars is just tearing through all of them. That's when one of the pirates tries to attack Hancock. And we get to see more of her abilities and what makes her so utterly frightening as a fighter.
Not like she can, we've seen her, turn people into stone before, but also like she can manifest a heart and shoot arrows out of it. Like she just like it kisses her finger and it just manifests a giant heart, and that's her slave arrow attack. But also, funny enough, it feels like it hits everybody.
Yeah, it's indiscriminate in a lot of ways. And I think what's fascinating about this is that it's a way for her to turn people to stone that she couldn't normally. Because they're not worried about her beauty. They're just trying to attack and kill. There's no thoughts of that on their mind. So there's no way for her to take advantage of that. But it literally does turn to stone anything it touches, even just partially. And we see that with the cannonballs. The cannonballs are stone as well. And
yeah, I didn't notice that. Yeah.
And once they're stone, even just partially, she can shatter them. And we see that with somebody. It's like, oh God, that's terrifying.
Right. Just there's your arm just gone. There's your sword just gone.
Cracking everybody in pieces, Marines and pirates alike. And it's like, whose side are you on? It's like, nah, I agreed to fight Whitebeard, but I'm not on your side. All men are the same to me, except him.
Yeah. Well, and I love that she's like, consider my promise to the Navy fulfilled. So it's like, all right, I fought once. Peace out.
What are you talking about? Oh, my beauty says so. But I mean, when you compare what she can do, I mean, she's still terrifying, let's be honest. But then here comes frickin' Kuma with the Ursa shock straight into Oars, and like, oh no.
Yeah, and the fact that he struggled a bit. He's looking pretty bloody from that. So I don't. Yeah, I take that back.
And significantly, the hat that was on Oars's back falls to the ground, and as he's trying to recover from the Ursa shock, he's looking at it, and while Ace is trying to stop him, we get flashbacks of memories from Oars. We learn that Ace is the one who made this hat for Oars.
He learned to make it from the people of Wano.
Okay, Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, and hey, it does look kind of, stereotypically like one of those like Asian rice farmer hats.
It absolutely does. But it's just, again, just the constant planting of Wano from Oda.
Yeah, of course.
I've lost track of how many times it's happened at this point because it's way more constant than I ever realized.
Yeah. I don't know if I would go so far as to call it like a theory, but like if you're caught up, there's something about this that makes me think of something else, and that if you know, you know.
Yeah, all I know is the country and Kaido. That is all I know.
Oh no, it's not about Wano specifically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But there's something else in this flashback that it like yeah.
Okay.
But like you do see like this really cute interaction where like I kind of love this. Like we've seen at the start of this chapter like that Oars Jr. is really he wants to save Ace because he's his friend, and now we're kind of seeing like this budding friendship between them.
Yeah, you see how the crew interacted, and just what a pure boy Ace is. That smile and all of that, and
honestly, even Oars Jr. is kind of a pure boy.
Yeah, he's like, "What are you doing outside?" It's like, "Oh, it keeps me dry. This is nice."
Yeah. Oh man, that's
getting
some Iron Giant feels.
And his whole thought process, I have to take out at least one of the warlords. So he spots Doflamingo, goes to hit him, misses. Doflamingo just completely jumps out of the way. And we see another flashback where, even keeps me warm in the snow too. Keeps the snow off me. This is nice. Juxtaposed with Doflamingo appearing behind him, screaming out, "This is so much fun," and chopping off Oars' leg. Holy crap.
Doflamingo's a psychopath, right? I think we can say that pretty confidently. But also, I feel like we saw Doflamingo not really in action, but we saw like a little bit of a hint about what his power might be. I think that was back in Jaya.
Almost as soon as his first appearance, and then of course back in Jaya. Yeah.
It was just like just a little bit, but now we're seeing like he can just cut somebody's leg off just and laugh about it. He's got all these acrobatic moves. Like he's also a force to be reckoned with. That it's like, oh no, he's okay. He's strong. He's more than he's more than just somebody who like laughs from the sidelines.
And I mean, I don't know. I've not gotten far enough to see this, but all the evidence definitely points to him being like a wire man. The way he's able to control people like puppets, the way he's like just cut off Oars' foot. It feels like that's the case where he's just able to use wires. And whenever Luffy goes to fight him, that's a problem. Because if he cut off Oars' foot, how does Luffy survive against this?
Very true. Yeah. I won't say one way or the other, but we're definitely getting hints of what he can do.
A preview of when I catch up and don't know what's coming.
Well, hey, honestly, from where we're at right now, it's not that far.
No,
not really, in the grand scheme of things. But poor like Oars Jr. is he's trying to reach Ace. He's so close, and then here comes Moria.
He's like, how dare you cut off his leg? But Oars' corpse will be mine later. And he gathers all his shadows together and creates the spiky shadow lizard and just impales him. And that's it.
And that's the end of the set.
Yeah, as he's just bloodied, desperately reaching for Ace. And let's be honest, likely dead.
Well, I mean, we were talking before, just earlier this chapter even, about like, Ace is having to sit here in chains watching all of his friends die in front of him.
He's being maimed and just, yeah. And it's very pointed that we have this SBS from Oda. It's like, whenever the Straw Hats defeat enemies, they only use the word defeat. I'm guessing none of the enemies are dead. So is the reason you don't use words like kill or crush because you're insisting on don't put an end to their lives, or is there some other reason? And Oda explains that his grandmother's like, don't say stuff like kill this or kill that too much. So it's natural for Luffy and his crew not to say it. But I think it's inevitable that the enemies do. So the ones that say that kind of stuff, other than, joking, like, I'll kill you for stealing all my food type thing.
Yeah.
It's like when it's only said by the really bad guys. And that's probably pretty pointed here.
Yeah. I find it fascinating too that like, I mean, because this is a like a Shonen Jump comic, so like it does have its darker moments, and there's blood and stuff, and death is definitely a part of a lot of the stories. But that Oda kind of has this stance, I think, is also really fascinating too. And I mean, as we've seen it, like we've seen, like we don't really kill the villains all that much. Most of the characters who die are in flashbacks.
Yeah.
So.
We've noted time and time again how people just don't die in this.
Yeah.
Though it's not looking great for. I mean, Oars can certainly survive this. We've seen.
Yeah, I don't remember if he does or not.
But it's not looking great in a war setting for sure.
Yeah,
like there's probably smaller characters certainly dying from this. It'd be weird if they didn't.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of implied death, and you can get away with a lot just through the sheer implication.
For sure. But that's the set. That's it. And
yeah, holy crap!
Yeah. There is one thing from our discussion, our conversation last night that I do want to bring up. It really brings into mind all of our jokes about Sengoku and Luffy.
Yeah.
About how you were just like this put upon manager dealing with this, like, oh, this freaking kid. And that description is all the more apt because that really is all the more threatening Luffy is. Like, yeah, he's a young upstart. Yeah, he's causing trouble. Yeah, he attacked Enos Lobby and took out Rob Lucci, but Rob Lucci's impressive as a fighter for somebody at that level. But Rob Lucci does not match up to the true powerhouses of the Navy.
Which
and
makes
neither does Luffy.
He's an assassin, and it makes sense for the context.
It all of a sudden makes sense that it's like Luffy annoyed Sengoku, but he never felt like a threat to Sengoku.
Yeah, and well, I feel like how would I put this? The bounty numbers for a lot of the various powers at play haven't been revealed yet, and I don't remember when they will be revealed. Luffy's is he at like the 100s or 300s? I don't remember.
He's at 300 million.
Okay, yeah. So like, keep that in mind.
I have to imagine the four emperors are immense.
Yeah, it gets up there, but like, yeah, I think the proper way to frame it is that Luffy is kind of like, it's like that damn kid again. As opposed to we are dealing with, again, like what I love about the scaling necessarily in this is that like this is, I feel like a lot of shonen manga, they love having, here's this guy that we've never mentioned and we've never heard of, we need a new bad guy now, and now he's super strong. Like One Piece doesn't do that for the most part.
No, I mean the best example is Mihawk. We met Mihawk in the first 100 chapters, and he obviously came across as strong, but we didn't have a sense of how strong. The fact that he's standing toe-to-toe with some of the strongest fighters in the world says something. Like, when it means something that he is the strongest swordsman. It's just giving context to what that fully means.
Yeah. And I think it's also really important, too, that the first time we saw Whitebeard, he hooked up to an IV.
Yes.
He's old and
not at his
crusty.
peak.
Yeah, he's not in his peak anymore. And so, like, I think I should be okay in saying that Whitebeard is the oldest of the emperors, certainly way older than Shanks.
I mean, that certainly makes sense. That doesn't feel like a spoiler.
It is understandable that we are seeing kind of like the height in terms of ranking, but like this is like kind of, I don't even want to go as far as say like the weakest one, but the one certainly the most like age comes for everybody.
Yeah, potentially not the strongest anymore because, well, the others are younger, so how strong are they?
Yeah, and again, that I'm gonna bring this up every time we talk about the four emperors. What is Shanks? And I say that because I don't know.
Yeah.
And every time you think about like, Shanks is an emperor, you're like, how? It is one of those. We haven't learned enough yet.
Good God.
Yeah. So that, just keep that in the back of your mind. But I really do appreciate that we're seeing this now as kind of like, here's our peek into kind of what the high level, maybe not the highest, but the very high level of the setting looks like. And again, the way that one journalist was like, it's like I'm watching the end of the world. that is how this feels like.
And now you get to imagine, what is it like for Luffy to go into this?
Yeah, and I think that that's very important that like Luffy has not joined the battle yet.
Yeah.
So like,
and honestly, can't see him turning the tide in any real way. Let's be honest. I don't see him. He never actually defeated Magellan, and I'm pretty sure Aikanu could destroy Magellan.
Yeah, really, is any of the admirals that we've seen, like, it is terrifying, right? Like, it is like, we have no shot. We have to run. Kizaru basically was responsible for breaking the whole crew apart. Like they were just like, we can't beat him. We have to run. Mm-hmm. So alongside like Kuma and the pacifistas and stuff. So it's just like, how is he going to handle this? Like, how is this going to feel once Luffy actually shows up? I cannot wait to.
That is going to be the true question. That's for sure.
Yeah. This arc has been. I feel like Oda is delivering. Like, this has been so much build up to what this is, just an all-out war to save Ace.
And this is only the beginning. And
yeah, exactly. We're still in the first act.
I'll be honest, outside of the truly major points, I remember almost nothing of the finer details, because I was just like, go. I got to see what's next.
Yeah, this is a part, especially when there's so much action. Like, you can, if you're just reading this like a normal person, like, you're consuming it. It's hard for me to stop after 5 chapters.
For sure. But with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 551 to 555 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job, and yeah, that's about it. Man, I can't wait for more. Can't wait for more.
For sure. And hey, if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 556 to 560 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Ace was only following my orders. Isn't that right, Marco?
Yep, I heard it myself. Then you left. Sorry for all the trouble, really. Teach broke the rules of our ship and you had to seek justice. Everyone in the world knows what happens if you mess with one of our crewmates. If you do, you're gonna pay the price.